next and lastly, we are going to discuss, I think, the finale and kind of broadly about season 2, our thoughts about season 2 of House of the Dragon. We didn't get to review the last couple of episodes, so we might talk about those as well. But yeah, I think we just want to discuss and give our thoughts on this season and the finale.
Yeah.
So I know the talk and kind of the headlines around the season and the finale were that it was a disappointing one, especially the finale. I think it's the lowest rated finale since the series finale of Game of Thrones. I thought this was honestly a good finale. I just didn't think. I think as a whole on the season, it's a little disappointing to not end on. I think we had all wanted dragon fights for so long, and then we got one, and then we didn't get another one for the rest of the season. And I think people wanted more action, more excitement. And Game of Thrones is very known for like its what do you call it? Like the penultimate episode or yeah. And so like the second to last episode was really exciting, but it was just people claiming dragons and not maybe the action that we fully came for House of the Dragon for. And I don't know. I think this season in general was a lot more build up than people were expecting. I think people, and myself included, were expecting more of an all-out war this season, whereas we're now, I think, guaranteed by the start of next season to be in that all-out war. It just, basically both sides had to build up its armies and their dragons and get to a spot where they can fight. So I get it. I get why it was a little disappointing. I also agree that it's not as good as season 1. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts too.
Well, the criticism from last season that like, oh, there's too many time jumps. The time jumps were what let us get to exciting things quicker. And
Agreed.
That it also provided us to have like to jump into like, well, where's the characters at now? Now we can be told things about how the characters act now through different cool interactions and new places that they've been, and it's exciting to us.
Right.
And we get to kind of see the generational like problems kind of start to come out and spread. And so when people are like, oh, enough with the time jumps, I was like, well, the time jumps are doing this show really like is what is so exciting.
It did work really well for season 1.
And it worked really well. And I would have been cool with time jumps, little tiny ones, but I would have been cool with time jumps this season too. I think the idea of like, now we've slowed down to like taking it, not exactly like, it's not like we're following it super slowly, because there is like, maybe like we jump a week ahead or, a couple days ahead.
Well, I mean, and they did do that. Like there did seem to be points where like weeks would pass or like maybe a month would pass.
Right.
But it didn't feel obvious, I don't think, to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Whereas like they made it very apparent when like years would pass in House of the Dragon season 1.
Right.
Yeah.
But you would even skip like a year after like episode 1 or 2 of House of the Dragon season 1.
Yep.
And obviously like this war only takes place over X amount of years.
Right.
And so it's like, you can't do a ton with that, but I did.
And there's a lot of context I think they want to show for sure.
Right. But what I wanted to get at was I wasn't particularly like thrilled that we were like slowing down in that aspect,
right?
Because then we have the problem of potentially staying on topics for too long,
right? Which I mean, clearly is what happened with like, and I like, I don't know if everyone agrees with this, but I think a lot of people were sick of Daemon's arc by the end of the season.
Yes,
because he was having hallucinations for 6 episodes straight.
Yes.
And you're like, we have to move on at some point,
So overall, before I get into that,
right,
not as good as season 1.
Right. Yeah.
I like the finale.
I do too.
I think I think people now, me and Hannah were both like, oh yeah, absolutely dragon fight tonight. Absolutely. No
I thought
way,
it too. Right.
No way there's not a dragon fight. Okay.
Yes.
So no dragon fight.
Yeah.
That isn't the thing that they wanted to tell. Still great episode. Great finale, I thought. I think it was just the expectations were there. So I expected it. I didn't get it. It didn't make me go, oh, I hate this show. This show's so bad.
Right.
There were important things and really cool scenes that happened, and we can get into those.
Right.
But regarding Damon, which I feel like is one of the parts of the season that everybody got really upset about. I don't think the idea of the hallucinations was bad, and I liked what they were trying to do. Like, they were obviously trying to set up for that scene at the end of in the finale, which was great. That was an awesome scene. I love that where he's like kneeling to her and
that was great. I loved all that, and like obviously him seeing the dream was amazing too.
Right.
That's really what the whole season was building up to him doing.
Which it's what's frustrating is I don't think you'd have to ask me again after I've given some time to think about how to go about it. But it was something that like the payoff was great.
Yes.
But was it something that needed the amount of time that was given to it?
Right.
I don't think so, because yes, we slowly got to see him. Like, yes, he
changed his perspective.
He as a person needed to change, because that is such an integral part of him for so long, that he needed to have that time to accept the visions and accept the dreams and accept that like he doesn't want he doesn't want the crown anymore.
Right.
But it still was done in a way, or at least it was spread out so long that like, and the visions and the dreams were so brief that they were so brief that
some of them were great. I did love some of them. Right.
They were good, but like they were brief, and they didn't, like, I would have preferred like 2 episodes worth of him like having these massive dreams that eventually led to that, than opposed to spreading them out over 6 episodes where like, what's going on with Damon?
Genuinely, we didn't need to see him every episode either. Like, we could have just not gone back to him like maybe every other episode. Right.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
Yeah.
I did, but with that, it wasn't just the dreams. It was obviously him like failing at, you know, trying to deal with the Riverlands, and then eventually like having this young dude just kind of be like, well, you were fucking with me, so now I'm gonna have to make you cut off the head of this.
You're right. That this kid like gave him the first like real like, damn, do I even want to rule anymore? Like, that I just had to do this. Like, I didn't like that at all. You know? I don't know. I do think like the benefit of all that was getting to a point where we fully understand Damon as a character. I think beforehand it was very hard to know what was going on inside of his mind, and because he had a lot of different paths that he went down himself in season 1, and he seemingly changed his mind at certain points and what he wanted, and so I think it was good to clear that up. It just took too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love seeing Aegon's dream that I guess he kind of saw as well.
Which also, Helena.
Yeah, that was a really big reveal in the season finale, that she is like guaranteed to be this like seer, this vision haver basically. And she spoke directly to Damon in the dream. And it's crazy. I do love it. I love her progression. I think it's my favorite episode for her so far. I especially love the conversation she has with Aegon right after. It's like, it's such a badass like moment for her. And basically it's just like, yeah, I've seen it. You're going to die. And it's just like, whoa, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was great for us to finally get that confirmation because it was very alluded to throughout seasons 1 and 2, for sure.
Which, like, I don't know if they put the three-eyed actual raven in the dream as just like a, hey, for all you that know, like, we're in that space,
Right.
or if she is going to be a three-eyed raven.
From what I know is that like that guy is the first three-eyed raven.
Okay.
So and that is like a young, like who we saw is like a young version of him. And from what I know, I want to say he hasn't been born yet. So there isn't a three-eyed raven at the moment. And so, yeah, I thought that was cool. Seeing the White Walkers was cool, even though it wasn't like our version of the Night King that we saw. But yeah, I thought that dream was great, and seeing Daenerys is very cool. Even though I think a lot of people assumed that they were like, that's the prince who was promised. Like they're telling us right there. And I don't know if you saw, but like they came out afterwards and was like, yeah, that's not what we were trying to say with that. We're just trying to let you all know that like they, basically down the timeline directly from Rhaenyra and Daemon will come, Daenerys.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think she's a big part in what's to come, and she's obviously the last like of the Targaryen lineage. So
right.
I think that's what they're showing. And it was cool seeing that again, or seeing that in House of the Dragon, I should say. Yeah. But I don't know if you want to talk about like a couple of things that happened in the couple like past 2 episodes. I think like for me, one of my favorite, and I think we talked about a little bit, was like the new Dragon Riders. I think they've been very like fun and a nice, exciting kind of new addition to the season at the very end of it. Like I really was liking all of the kind of, they were really focusing and building on like these like small folk throughout the entire season. And I was like, oh, this is really nice to just get a perspective of people within King's Landing that are not, the lords and are being affected by everything the Targaryens are doing. But it was, and so they kind of, at least for me, they flipped the script on that and were like, no, we're actually going to use these characters in the larger story, which I was like, oh, that's a nice twist.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I think Ulf has been hilarious, like around the Targaryens, even though I definitely wouldn't blame them if they wanted to just chop off his head because how rude he's been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought like Hugh the Hammer claiming his dragon was one of the best moments of the season. And that whole like, ending scene of that episode where, Targaryen bastards are just getting heads chopped off and lit on fire. It's just, yeah, it was intense and really exciting. Yeah.
I really like those 2 characters. I'm excited to see them like interact with the rest of the main cast so far.
Yeah.
Going to the finale though.
Right.
Was not expecting Alicent to show up with Helena.
Dude, that was crazy. Well, she wasn't there with Helena, was she?
I thought she was. She was like, I thought she was like saying like, do you want to leave? And then Helena was like, yes, I do.
Yeah, but I think Helena, I don't think she went with Alicent to like Dragonstone.
Maybe not, but I feel like it's implied that like she at least is gonna be taken away. Right. Those 2 are trying to escape, basically. But even before that, having like Aemon just being like, you're riding this dragon, you're coming.
I don't blame him, honestly. Like they are all about to get slaughtered. And Alicent's like, not this way. And I'm like, no, you don't have any other options. Okay. You need dragon riders.
Well,
you got basically 7. Go on.
Well, she doesn't want the fighting.
but it's inevitable. And Allison
Well,
started it, and she's a hypocrite. And I, it's frustrating.
But
And I don't necessarily disagree with Eamon, is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
you need to protect your family and yourself. And if you're just going to run away, you're dooming them.
But not like, but she obviously, after going to see Rhaenyra, like she is avoiding it. She is like, and she's like, I'm going to have to kill your son. And she's like, okay.
Which is, and I didn't feel bad for Alicent because she's literally sacrificing one of her kids, but like I could feel the emotion in that scene so much. I got emotional just seeing Alicent like her nod her head and like being almost like severely distraught afterwards that she even like nodded yes was really beautiful acting, honestly. And so that was one of my favorite scenes in the episode. I've also loved like the conflict with Rhaenyra and Jace in the last couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Where he's really, I mean, he called her out. Like he's like, I know, obviously, like I've always known. And he's not happy with, non-rightful Targaryens having dragons. And I totally get it. I get where he's coming from, but obviously you need dragon riders, and it is what it is.
And like I get what originally his plan was not the bastards. Right. They were, people of
noble descent.
Yeah. And
that had Targaryen lineage.
And I was like, okay, but you did kind of start this, and like I get what you're saying, but like I appreciate that by the end of it, like he kind of like him and was it Baela? Him and Baela kind of talking. It's like you should like, are you really gonna let this like define you? Like you should like own it. And
I've liked their dynamic. Yeah. Baela's been good this season for sure. But yeah, we also get this this episode. Is it Rhaena? Okay,
that was an actual big letdown for me though. With all the stuff with her, like we found out about this dragon,
Sheep Stealer, I think is his name.
Sheep Stealer. We found out about this dragon 2 episodes prior to the finale. She then goes and runs off in the
abandoning her post by protecting the kids.
Abandoning her post,
right?
And then sleeps in the cold.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. How is no one looking for her? And I know that's a big complaint a lot of people had. Like, she is Daemon's daughter. Like, you don't think if she just goes missing, he's going to, like, kill everyone that was responsible? You know? Like, I don't know. It's a little weak, I think. But
and then
go on.
She finds the dragon.
Right.
But that's it.
And then it's a cliffhanger. Right. I think it's very assumed she's going to get the dragon next season.
Well, but since it didn't show that, it makes me go, but it makes me go like, well, either it was lame and you didn't show her get on the dragon, which would have been cool.
Right.
Or maybe something bad happens. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's very plausible something bad happens to Rhaenyra's kids because she's not around protecting them. So
that might be it. But
yeah,
it might be. But then I'd love to know what happens to those dragon eggs.
Agreed. I mean, because clearly, like,
but also, they
separate from?
Can you really blame? Can you really blame Rhaena? You know what I mean? Because like, what's she gonna do? Like, they still have like knights with her. You know,
I feel you. I get it, but I don't know. She shouldn't have left her post. I guess she wants a dragon. I get they're kind of giving her like this character called Nettles. From the book, like she's kind of getting her storyline from what I can kind of gather, because she's the one who gets this dragon in the books.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they've combined the two stories well, and I think I agree. I think it would have been very nice to see her get on a dragon by the end of the season. Right?
Yeah.
The other big thing this finale was the inclusion of Tywin or Tylan. I can't remember his name. The Lannister, the Master of Ships. Probably my least favorite part of this finale.
I love that part.
I just think what felt so unnatural about it was that it. Yes, we'd been getting like little hints about like, yes, there's a blockade. People aren't happy about it. Blah blah blah. But like, there really wasn't a thread with him, like the Lannister this season, and it felt like he became like an important side character just at the last episode, where we could have been focusing on other things. Like I get that's needed context, but it just wasn't built up enough for me to give it like such a big side plot.
I don't know. I feel like it's happened I feel like it's happened in other seasons before where like a character shows up and you're like, well, that's happening. But like, I thought it was done really well. Like we could understand that like, was this his twin, like the twin of the Lannister I think but from what I understand, this is the Lannister that is on the council.
Yes, it is.
So like he went to,
sure. I get it. It's not unnatural, but I just think you needed to build it up just a little more for it to feel better. Like that it came.
Well, what would you do? Like, hey guys, in the previous episode, I'm going to. So
I think they needed to have a council, like a small council talk about the basically they have a huge army, right? But they don't have anything to counter the sea snake, and so they're like, we need to, one, get rid of the blockade, and two, find a way to match the sea snake's ships, army, whatever you want to call it.
Right, but they've been talking about the blockade like all season and how it's like you can see the effect that it's having on people.
Right.
And so like in that opening scene, you can already like infer and also hear from them that like, hey, we really need you. And like they even say, it sounds like you need us more than we need you. So me personally, like I didn't need a build up. Like it was fun. It worked for me, and I love the new character that I
don't mind the character. I would have cast someone else like entirely different. They just look a little young, I think, to be like I would have wanted somebody with much more age, someone who like everyone is respecting. I think I would have wanted somebody who is gruffer like a pirate. Like they just had a very Britishy accent that didn't seem sailor-like to me at all. I just wasn't loving the character, to be honest. That's just me though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't hate like his journey through it. I think there's some amusing points. But yeah, I don't know. Whereas like a lot of the season feels, I know like there's dragons in the show, but a lot of the season does feel grounded in a sense. When we were in that setting, it just felt very fantasy like we were in this like fantasy tropical area, and a bunch of the pirates had blue hair, and I don't know. It felt less Game of Thronesy than before. But I know the world is vast and has different aesthetics. I just think that was my weakest part of the finale, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta hard disagree with you, but
sure. That's fine.
I mean, it's like we've seen, like was that what was that? Was that? It's not Dorne, is it?
I'm assuming it was just somewhere in Essos. I assumed.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like we've been to Dorne, we've been to Essos, and like it felt like very similar to me. Like it really didn't feel that different, and especially when they're fighting in like the mud. Like
right. I think maybe where I'm disconnecting is that they're. And I guess we can call that character a he, since they referred to the character as a he. But like, besides that, the backgrounds to me for like the first time, like it felt clearly like a CGI background. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. I mean, when we first see it, yes.
Whenever you see like the big palm trees in the back, yes. I think that's when you can feel like it's very like, created background.
Yes, but we don't see that for long. You know?
No, you don't.
And like I can point to plenty of times where I look at backdrops for other parts of the season that are in Westeros, and I'm like, that is not a real place. It looks cool, but it's not a real place, and I can tell.
Yeah. But I do think the other last important like thread of this season, it was cool to see Aegon listen to Larys's advice and for them to go off and hide and wait for this to blow over. And I think I see where it's going now. I almost feel like the two sides are going to annihilate themselves, and he might just be the last one standing, and he might be able to just continue on and rule afterwards. Which would be wild if like we didn't see him for like season 3 at all, or like like we don't see him until season 4 maybe, and then he's like, yeah, I'm coming back, I'm the king. I don't know. It could be neat, but like I mean, Helena really like says it. Like she's like, he's gonna be king again, and you're gonna be dead. So, yeah. I mean, and it seems like she knows a lot. So maybe her visions don't come to light, but it seems like they have been at least.
Right.
Yeah. So I think there's this. I don't know. I think the other disappointment people were feeling was that like this was just so much setup for season 3. And I get it, but I think that is what a lot of last episodes of the season do. Like they set you up for the next season. But you know, from what I hear, like them having to shrink this season down from 10 to 8 episodes wasn't their decision, and that they wanted to have this battle of the gullet between the Sea Snake and the pirates this season, but they, I think, left it for season 3 instead. So it would have been cool to get a little longer of a season, maybe get that battle in, but yeah, and maybe just leaving, you know, like Tywin to talk with the pirates at the very end instead of like maybe multiple episodes by the end of the season could have felt more natural. Yeah, but yeah, I think overall it was a good season, just a little slow, and I'm hoping the pacing picks up in the next couple of seasons.
Right.